Okay, now we are going to add a form similar to this one. We are going to add a form here. uh, so in as I mentioned, in the Flask we have WTF forms, so we are going to use that forms. We already have installed them. Now we are going to create them. Okay. So in order to do that, let's create another file. We call it form dot. Oh yeah, one thing. Before moving to the forms, I want to refactor some of the code. So the first thing is actually, if you see right now, our all of this code is in our app.py. Actually, app.py is our main entry point of our web application. So it's not a good practice actually to put the routes here, because right now we have few routes, but in the real application there will be a lot of routes there. So the app.py should only have those codes which are used to run the application, and then this part we should move it into another script, another Python file. So let's do it first before going to the forms. I will create another file called forms route.py. So in the route.py we will define all of our routes. So let's first just cut it and we move it here. But definitely these are not going to work in this way. We have to import certain things. So first we will import, because we created our app, the Flask app, in our app.py. As I mentioned, this is actually the main entry point. So we have to import this app here, because this app actually @app, this one is the thing which we create here, the app variable actually. If I change it to anything else like web, then we are going to change this to the web. So don't confuse it with this thing is not fixed. Maybe I will show you before going this. I will show this concept. Okay. Like here we have this app, right? So this app is actually this app. If I say it web, so I have to change here web, and then you see they're having some error. I have to change it with web, and then web, and then web. You see now, if I see everything is working, still working, because don't get confused with the names. So this is just a name. So whatever you provide here, you have to, in the decorator you have to use the same thing, because this variable is actually have the instance of the Flask application. So let's change it to app, because app looks make more sense. So just remove it and then move it here. Okay, and then I will going to import. So now I'm going to import this app here so that I can use it. So from app, import app, and then I can say and then we are using this render template, so we have to import this also. So from Flask, import render template. So yeah, these things are enough to import for now. And then here, okay, then here what we have to do is first we can remove this render template because it's not being used here anymore. And then I have to import the routes here. So I will say from route, import everything, because I will import all the routes here. So because you see I removed the routes here, and then that one is replaced by this line. This line is actually just, you can say, copying all the routes and putting it here. So in the end it's actually the same, but it will be more organized way by doing this. Wrong line here. Okay. So now let's see, let's run our application and then see whether everything is fine or not. Yeah, everything is fine. So actually we haven't did anything, so app is same, but we just refactor our code to make it more organizable and look to make it more just organize it. Okay, so we have the route. So now we have two files. The third file we are going to create is the forms. dot py. Okay, in the forms dot py, now we are going to create the WTF form. So first we have to import Flask WTF, import Flask form, then I will say from WTF form import string field. So okay, so I will explain this one. First I import, then submit field, and then I will say okay, that one I will import later. So WTF forms, I will import. I import the form and package, and then the string field, because we are in our form we are going to create some fields. You can see here in the finished application. This is the string field and this is a submit button. So we need these two things. So I import this too, and now let's see how we can create the form. So now I will create a class, add task form, and extend the Flask is from Flask form. Actually, I extend the Flask form. I extend the Flask form here, and then I to my class. So actually, Flask form provides some functionality. So that's why we have to extend this with our class. So this is actually the parent and this is the child. And then we can create some fields. So I will say title, and title will be a string field. So I will in this variable actually I will create an object of a string field. Actually these are the mainly concept of object oriented. If any one of you don't have much understanding on the object oriented side of the Python, then don't worry, just follow this one. If you have any difficulty, you can ask me. I can explain the object oriented concepts as well, how this thing, because this Flask is actually object oriented framework, so we have to use classes and objects and you know, like inheritance in order to work with the Flask. So right now we create a instance of the string field and the title. The first parameter is actually the title. So the title, I will set a title because we are having a title. And then actually if you notice one thing, I will show here, this field is actually set as a required. Like if I submit this, it will not allow me because this is a required field. So in the WTF form we can configure a field to be a required. So how we can do this? We can actually pass some validators. So like first we have to import it, WTF forms dot validator import, and I will import the data required validator. Okay, so this data required right now we can use different validators, but for this field I am going to use the data required validator. So we can pass validators equals to, there is a list. We can pass a list of validators. For now I will just pass the data required. So by passing this, actually we set the validators, and the first one is the data required. So this field will become required field. Then next we will have the submit. Just create a variable and actually create an object, submit field, submit. Okay, so this one is just an instance of a submit field, and the title I will set it to submit. Okay, so our form is ready. Now we are going to use it. So where we are going to use it? We are actually going to use it in our route. So whenever we we send this add HTML, so we have to display a form as well. So first what we do, we will create a form. I'll say add, yeah, but before that I have to import it. So I can say from form import add task form, and then yeah, add task form here. So I imported the form here, then I say add form equals to add task form. So now I create the instance of the form, then now I have to I can pass it to our HTML template. So here I create a variable form equals to add form. So now I create the instance of the form and then pass it to the template. Now I can go to the template here, and now we have to display the form here. So how we are going to display it? First we have to create the HTML form with action equals to add, you can say. I will come to this later, and then is post. Okay, then now since we pass the form with the variable form, so I can use this variable to display the field. So here I can say form dot title, and similarly say form dot submit. So now we have by doing this we actually populated both of the fields of our form, the title and the submit. So these fields are actually here, you see, we create title and submit, and these fields we actually populate here. Now let's see if everything is working or not. Everything is saved. Yeah. And I think our server is crashed because yeah. The thing is, oh, there is a syntax error. WTF form. Okay, form. This is spelling mistake. Okay, fine. Actually, the thing is, because we are running our server in a debug mode, so in the debug mode, it auto restarts by itself whenever we do any changes. So if there is a syntax error or something, so the server can't restart actually. So it will crash. So yeah, that's why you have to look at if you are running a debug mode. So it might be if you see something happening like this, so you have to check your server. Run again. Okay, it's running. Okay, okay, so our form is there, but there is one problem here, which is saying a secret key is required to use CSRF. Okay, so what's going on here is actually WTF forms is a very need some security. Maybe you guys have heard about CSRF already. Actually, it's not the scope of this workshop, but actually I will just give you some brief introduction about this. So actually CSRF we actually use to generate some token, because whenever we are using a server side rendering of the form, so we don't want some other code, other JavaScript or code or the browser to submit data to our form. So what we do is we actually whenever this form is sent to the client, to the browser actually, so we actually the server actually create a CSRF token, and that token is in the hidden form of that form. So whenever the browser submits the data, so it also sends back the same token, and the server will verify it in order to know that this is the same form which the server actually rendered. So when they receive the data, so they verify, the server actually verify that the data is coming from the valid form. Okay, so for this one we have to do one thing, form dot CSRF underscore token. So together with the form, all this title, these things, we also send the token, but this will be hidden, so user will not see it. But we can obviously see it from the inspector in the backend, but from the front end here you will not see it. Like here only the text box and the button will be visible. Okay, but we have to do one more thing. We have to configure, because if you see here, it's saying the secret key is missing. Secret key is missing. So we have to configure the key. So how we can do it? We can go to the app. So in the when we create the Flask app, we have some configurations which we can set. So say app.config, and then there is available secret configuration, secret key, and we can set the value. So normally we have to generate a key and then set the value of the key here, but for now, for our testing, I just put any string. So any string can do actually, but it's not in the production, it's not recommended to do in this way, but for development and testing it's fine. So I just put some string here, it can be any key, and then I will configure it with the app, and here we will send it. So now let's see our form. Yeah, now see the form is visible, but we only see, although we send three things, but we only see two here: the box, the text box, the submit field, and the button. Yeah, see, it don't allow to submit because it's a required field. But if you see, if I open the inspector, and then if you see, maybe I can show you here. Yeah, see the form, but there is a token here. This is the token. The token is generated from the server and then send it here. And these are the two fields which actually we created. So the token is there, but it's hidden. Okay, so yeah, we are good with the form. Now let's say now if we submit something, say test. When I submit something, it says method not allowed. Why this happened? Because if you see on the server, this time we receive a post method, a request with a post method. So, but right now, as I mentioned before, that the routes we configure by default, they are get. So we don't have any post defined here for the route add. This route we define here actually is for the get method for the add URL. We don't have for the post. So now we do it for the post so that we can receive the data, because our form is submitting as a post. Okay, so what we can do here is we can just add the methods. Method equals to, first is the get and the second is the post. Okay, so we have get, we have defined. Now this route is capable of receiving both the methods get as well as the post. Okay, now once we submit the data, we can do one thing. Instead of rendering this one only, first we can do is, like, you can say if add form dot validate on submit. So whenever we submit the form, because we are using the validator, so this thing will check actually when the form is submit, then we will do like print add form dot title dot data, and then I just entered this one. So what I am doing now is whatever we send here, okay, so we'll go back. Whatever we send here, I will just print it, but that will not be printed here, but it will print into the server. So we will see in the logs here. So now I submit. So you see nothing happens, but actually data is sent to the server, and it printed test whatever I sent because of this one line. So when we submit, so it will send it and then goes on. But definitely we are not going to do this. We are going to store it into the database and then show it there. So yeah, so now at least our form is working. We know that our form is working. Now let's add this value to the database.